Road alerts, precautionary measures. Avoid unnecessary driving on the Shomron area. As the radio barked, I instinctively reached under my seat for the Uzi and released the safety, fumbled around in the toolbox for another loaded magazine, and placed it within reach. Driving on the Trans-Samaria Highway, the main artery linking the heartland of Israel to the coast, is normally a scenic cruise across ridges and sweeping views and down through historic valleys planted in olive groves, vineyards, and fig trees. Today, though, I had driven through the first Arab village a little faster than usual. After a 15-minute delay at an Israeli army roadblock, we were once again underway. On the radio, the announcer's voice was tense as he rattled off the number of Israeli casualties yesterday's battle at Joseph's tomb in Shechem. Bulletin: drivers report shooting, it stated. Incidents on the Shomron Road. Army officials predict increasing tension. I glanced at my wife, Rivka's face. She was upset. Nachum, why are you taking this kind of chance just to go surfing? This was no big deal, I answered. When I was on safari down in Oaxaca, Mexico, in the early 70s, the guerrillas actually held surfers as hostages. Somehow this did nothing to calm her fears. Still, the kids wanted to go, the hot weather was there, and they had an excuse to hit the water with their old man. Hey, I thought, I just started vacation. Haven't been in the salt water for over 2 weeks, and I'm itching to unload my surfboard and get wet. The last thing I want to deal with on the way to the beach is another intifada. At the next roadblock, a squadron of Merkava tanks was positioned for added security, barrels pointed toward the adjacent Arab village. Traffic had slowed to a crawl. I spotted a familiar face among the soldiers, a buddy of mine from a neighboring village. Avi, I yelled out over the exasperated voices of the swearing, fetching drivers. What's all this? Is it under control or what? You mean other than getting hit by rocks and bricks, Rabbi? Avi answered with a touch of resignation. Then he leaned down and whispered, Listen, you might want to keep your weapon in your lap. Looks pretty bad this time. You might not be able to get back home if it heats up. Okay, I just want to make sure I paddle out before the tide changes on me, was my answer. All right, he relented as he stood up and signaled to the IDF troopers with Galils slung barrel down, leaning on the tank's treads. Then he waved my car and 2 others through. The rest of the drive across the coastal plain was an uneasy affair. I turned off the special news bulletins and looked for an old 60s vintage Dick Dale tape. Keep cool, I said to myself. One more roadblock, and it's clear sailing to the coast. Perhaps it was my frame of mind. Maybe it was the by now comforting sight of my Uzi lying next to me and the surf wax. Maybe the familiar guitar riffs of Miserlou made me come to my senses. Rivka's right, I thought. This is nuts. There's a war going on, and I'm going surfing? What am I doing? I took a deep breath and reflected on a life that had brought me to this point. How would I manage to get myself into these positions? I led the life of a comfortable, assimilated surfer with a Volvo and a good credit rating. My major world-shattering concerns were wind direction, wave size, tide changes, and whether I had forgotten to water my alfalfa sprouts before leaving for the day. By what freak of fate was I now going surfing after passing through a combat zone, roadblocks, and barbed wire, armed with automatic weapons and 2 loaded magazines?